Melisa with Waldorf Essentials, and welcome to our weekly video. I want to talk today about sort of a subject that I think people get really hung up on when they come to Waldorf. People will say to me, I really like Waldorf, but I'm not artistic at all. Or I really like Waldorf, but I just couldn't figure out knitting. Or I think what you do is great. I just am really scared that my kids won't like what I do. And I want to sort of help you breathe out a little bit. Maybe you've heard me tell this story before, but when I was in 7th grade, I was sort of on this trajectory to become a lawyer when I was a kid, and had taken all this debate and was super excited. 7th grade, 13, knew what my life was going to be like. So I thought, and I remember being in 7th grade art class, and it was probably the last year that art was like as a requirement. It was not an elective. And I can remember having this project and being in these tables with all the other kids. And I think there were like 6 of us in like a pod. And I remember the art teacher, I can't even remember what it was that we were working on, but I remember he came around and he said, Miller, which was my maiden name. He called us all by our last names. He said, "I'm going to be a lawyer, right?" I said, "Yeah, I do. That's what I want to be." He said, "That's good. You're not an artist." And I remember it just kind of like felt like he had smacked me in the face. And of course, kids around me are chuckling and laughing. And I think he was probably shouting at somebody else, "Well, you should hush up because you're no artist either," kind of thing. And it always stuck with me. It always was a space where, I think back in the 80s, teachers said things that they wouldn't say today. But it stuck with me for a long time. And it stuck with me even as I came to Waldorf. And, in Waldorf, we have these beautiful ways of doing things. We have this beautiful art, whether it be through handwork or through the visual arts, through painting and drawing and modeling, all of these sort of expectations that we put on ourselves. And we have to remember that even those Waldorf teachers that teach in a school started somewhere. And sure, some of them maybe had some extra aptitude in art when they were younger, but many of them did not. They just had a desire. And that's really where I want you to come from. I want you to come from the space of desire, because really and truly, desire is all it takes. So I sort of, I came to Waldorf after, as a homeschooler, and just sort of dove in. I can't say that I loved all of my drawings and paintings. Can't say that I always thought it was good, but we always did them. We always sort of worked to move forward and move ahead. Often by the time my kids were in middle school, they had loved art enough and had taken it to the next place. And often we're in a place that was far beyond where I felt my abilities were. And I sort of allowed them to do that, whether it be with another art teacher or, about that time YouTube started to become really big. And I remember my oldest son started doing some classes on YouTube. But it wasn't until maybe within the last 2 years where I was looking for something other than knitting to sort of help me de-stress. And then I decided I was going to go a little bit deeper. And I felt that I wanted to never feel like I couldn't keep up with my kids with regards to their art, especially the younger 2 that are still at home. And I wanted to have something that felt like it was my own. So when I did that, I sort of stepped out of needing to have it be exactly the Waldorf, the Waldorf Pure, whether it be wet on wet watercolor or those sorts of things, and stepped into my own space. I started nature journaling again, where I had done that previous years, and really started nature journaling. I started keeping a trip journal, taking a journal with me everywhere, just a little sketchbook everywhere when we went on trips, whether it be to a national park or, just even down the street. I started taking the time to get centered and draw for myself. And you might be thinking, Melisa, how in the world will I carve out that time? You'll find it. I very much encourage you to find, even if it's 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, of time that just belongs to you with regards to art. and just taking the space to get excited about what your abilities could be if you put forth some practice. Once I had been sketching a little bit, I decided to do a subscription box, and I really like the subscription boxes from Let's Make Art at letsmakeart.com. They're great because they come with all the paint and the paper, and then, you know, a link to the video. And so that was a very nice way for me to sort of get into sort of getting over that trepidation that I had with watercolor and taking those watercolor skills further and those sketching skills further. And since then, you know, I've found other places on YouTube. The internet's a great place where you can sort of get lost in, oh, I want to learn how to draw trees better, or I want to draw realistic forest, or I want to draw, you know, like the other day, I drew some little penguins and painted those. So getting yourself to a place where you're doing it because you're excited about it, and it's not this other thing to do. It's something that actually fills your soul. So that's really where I'd love to see you sort of grow with regards to art. It doesn't have to be something daunting. It doesn't have to be something that's, you know, over the top. Start with small things. You know, I started with main lesson drawings that I wanted to go deeper on, maybe some nature postcards, or some festival paintings. We did a lot of festival paintings for Martinmas and St. Lucie this year, and it gave me an opportunity to sort of take what I loved about the festivals and bring them into an artistic space. So I want to encourage you to do the same. I want to encourage you to not be intimidated and to just take one little step at a time and realize that you don't have to be as perfect today or as spot on today as you will be in 5 years or 10 years. I've been at this for 20 years or so, and I'm definitely in a much different place than I was 20 years ago when I started. And I wouldn't change a thing about the journey. I've just had a really good time with it, and I encourage you to do the same. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you later.